Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Business Talk Library, and today I have a great guest on because one of the big challenges that a lot of business owners have is when it comes down to really how do you address your niche market, and a lot of times people struggle with that because they're like, hey, I have two different types of audience to serve. And when I talked to Kenneth and really understood what he's doing in his business, I was like, that's a very creative way to address two completely different markets. And also, he's in the tax field, so he's definitely wrestling through a lot of the tax challenges. So we'll definitely talk about that. But I want to welcome to the show Mr. Kenneth Omoruyi. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much, Darrell. So nice to be here. Really thank you for the opportunity to be able to be on the platform.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, before we jump into the details about, like I said, how you work through that strategy of, like I said, developing multiple businesses so you can serve different niches, tell us a little bit about your background.
I graduated with accounting degree and uh, moved to the U.S. From Nigeria, which is a West African country. Did my master's at University of Southern California, master's in business tax. So my background is mostly in accounting and then in tax. And I'm a CPA in the state of Texas. So have a license called the Enrolled Agent License, which is mostly tax based. But outside of accounting, one thing that I would say I fell into academics a couple of years ago is teaching. So I also teach at the community college here in Houston, Texas, and I've actually been really loving that.
Awesome. Now, when you came from Nigeria, I guess, were you already studying some form of accounting and business, or was that something you came into once you got to the U.S.?
No, actually, so my first degree that I had in Nigeria was accounting, and I started my career off in the oil and gas field. I worked for a multinational called Wilbros Oil Field Service Company, and yeah, actually started my career off with oil and gas after I graduated from accounting.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So now, as you kind of started your career off in accounting, did you go the normal public accounting route first, or how did you kind of navigate that journey?
Well, interestingly, no. So my career trajectory has been pretty not traditional or pretty not conventional. Most students right out of college they go into public accounting. I actually never went into public accounting right out of college. I went into the oil and gas industry, and it's interesting because most of the people, well, maybe back then, who ventured out of public accounting, they probably come into oil and gas, or nowadays they move into tech. Oil and gas was a big thing then, but now I think the next big thing or the new big thing is the tech industry. So, yeah, I went straight into oil and gas, and I've spent most of my career in oil and gas, actually.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now, what was it about, in starting your own firm? Like, at what point in your kind of your journey did that kind of come about?
So I worked with Wavros Nigeria. Then when I moved to the US, I also worked with Schlumberger. It's an oil field service company also as well. I my last day I remember very well. My last day I worked with Schlumberger was December 28th, 2018, and significantly is because it was my kid's first birthday. So I happened to have a set of triplets, and so um I think mostly the trying to make sure I'm really, I'm in their lives, really drove the decision for me to branch out of corporate America and then start my own business, mostly to be able to control my time, to be able to uh, have have that flexibility that I needed to be in my kids' lives.
Awesome, awesome. I love that. I mean, when you think about starting a business, I do think that that flexibility of being able to build it around, like I said, the life you want to have is
Right.
amazing. And I guess in doing that, I'm curious, how was that, that journey of transitioning from working in someone else's business to working in your own firm and building that up? How were the early stages of that?
It definitely wasn't an easy journey. It wasn't an easy. It's always very difficult. There's this sense of apprehension. There's this sense of scared. There's so much fear when you want to branch out from the quote unquote the comfort zone. So that zone that is not a very comfortable place. I mean, for everybody, but the truth is, if you never branch out, if you never take a step out of your comfort zone, you never really experience the power of trying. Uh, the ability to be able to branch out of your comfort zone. Somebody puts it like this: that there's no comfort in the growth zone. When you're growing, there's no comfort, and there is no growth in the comfort zone. So I think branching out of my comfort zone, which for the most part known all my life, right out of college was something that was really tough for me. But I'm looking back, I'm really grateful I did make that transition.
Awesome. Now, speaking of comfort zone, now one of those areas for a lot of business owners, especially those in accounting and finance, they struggle with is really getting comfortable or really finding out what is their niche, like who is their target audience. And I know when you and I talked, you talked about, hey, that balance of when you're working with high net worth individuals from a tax perspective, what they need is completely different from what your average person needs. So how did you kind of navigate, how you were going to serve both audiences?
Well, generally, I have two clientele base that I currently serve because I run two firms. So one of my companies is CKO, CPAs, and advisors. So like the typical CPA firm, most of the clients you come across are clients that want to have a relational, build relationship with you, so that from time to time you go over their financial statements, talk to them. Sometimes they want to share stories with you even more than you are willing to know about them. So, I don't want to. Let's not even go into that. But yes, we call those relational clients, and um, I mean, for the most part, many of these clients they are 6-figure clients, right? Yeah, high net worth clients, as it were. They have small businesses, and some of them actually also have investments. And then you want to discuss across various kind of fields with them. But with my other firm, which is called Zanda Tax, Zanda, Zanda Tax, it's a more transactional kind of firm that deal with low to medium income earners, mostly people who we typically call the earned income credit kind of clientele base. We mostly with the main goal why we started Standard Tax is to be able to bring the CPA level kind of service to people and small individuals and small businesses that otherwise could not afford the CPA services. And it's been interesting. I promise you, it's really been interesting to be able to see the dynamics of both clientele play out. But for me, it's more like a journey than a destination. So, and I'm enjoying every bit of it.
Gotcha. Now, I'm curious as to, as you kind of think about those two different firms, since the clientele is different, I mean, are your marketing efforts or your, let's say, client acquisition efforts, are they uniquely different between the two firms? And I guess, how do you manage that?
Absolutely, yes. You hit it right the nail on the head. So the way we market to both clientele is very different. For example, with Tax, we actually partner with some of those uh, check cashing places. I'm sure you're probably familiar with Speedy Cash, Payday Loan. So we partner with some of them. I'm in Houston, Texas, and we have a couple of them in Houston, and we are able to talk to some of the owners and then have like a little kiosk inside those check cashing places such that when their clientele base or their clients coming to the check cashing places, then we're able to have access to them. Then with CKO, CPAs, and advisors, we're able to market online, We have a platform on Intuit Pro Advisor. I happen to also be an advanced QuickBooks certified Pro Advisor. We get clients on that platform. And then, search engine optimization, Google Ads, and all of that. We also get a very good number of clients from referral from our current clientele base.
Awesome, awesome. I love it. I love it. So, as you think about, what's the future look like for your firms? I mean, the journey of where you started to where you are now, and what are your kind of your views for where do you think the firms are going to go next?
Well, I happen to not only just be also focused in my accounting, I also teach. So I'm also an educator. So, ultimately, my goal is really to, focus more on my educational piece. So that way I can devote time to grooming and growing the next generation of accounting leaders. And that's really my passion. Most of my life has been with, I've been very involved with community people, mentorship, and I think outside of accounting, that's what I want to do. But with respect to the question you asked me, what do I see in terms of the future, is to be able to grow, leaders from within the firm to a level where they can take over the firm, partnership. So that way I can focus on the things that I love to do, which is of course, teaching.
Awesome, awesome. Now, one of the other things that, when I was looking at your profile is the recognition that you've received. I mean, I believe it was it 40 40 under 40
That's correct.
for how does it feel to receive that honor and recognition for your work?
Well, I honestly believe it. To me, it's really humbling to say the least, because as somebody who graduated from, outside the US, it's not a typical journey for someone who came from outside the US and then, is able to really, get in and, fraternize with the system that currently exists in the accounting profession. But one thing I will say without, missing words, is that I'm really grateful to the accounting, specifically the CPA profession in the US. And I cannot stress that enough. When I came here, I actually, went into the CPA journey to become a CPA, and ever since I became a CPA and been also very involved with the CPA society. I'm involved with the CPA society at the level of the state and at the national level. It's really been very, very rewarding, and that's one thing I can say that really contributed to that.
Awesome. That is amazing, and definitely very proud of you for the work
Thank
that
you
you're
so much.
doing and the impact that you're having. So, if people are interested in reaching out to you for your services for either firm or just to see the great things that you have going on, where's the best place for them to find you online or on social media?
Yeah, well, our website is ckous.com. So ckous.com. So that's the website for CKO CPAs and advisors. We also have our social media presence, on Facebook, on Instagram, and all this across all the social media platforms.
Okay, awesome. Now, before we go, one of the things I want to ask about, where you mentioned about enrolled agents, and a lot of people don't really understand what an enrolled agent is. And for the few people that do understand, there really aren't many resources out there for enrolled agents to become better at what they're doing. Can you tell us what an enrolled agent is and what resources are you excited about for enrolled agents to get access to?
Yes, thank you, Terrence, for bringing up that question, because I really love to dwell on this. So, when I was on my journey to becoming a CPA, I took the regulation part, which is one of the parts of the four parts of the CPA exam, and it's mostly focused on tax. And then, I happen to have known about enrolled agent license before then, and I then went on to take the enrolled agent exams, and I was able to. I'm grateful I passed that exam. So the enrolled agent license is a license that is granted by the Internal Revenue Service. So if someone asks me what are enrolled agents, so I'll say think about it like CPAs for the IRS. So, so in other words, the CPA have their own version of the IRS have their own version of their own exam of the CPA
Okay.
exam out there. So it's called the enrolled agent license. And then they grant the license. With that license, you are able to represent taxpayers before the IRS and unrestricted. And we currently building a platform for all enrolled agents. It's called enrolledagent.com. So enrolledagent.com, one word. So enrolledagent.com. So the idea in as quickly as I can put it, the idea behind enrolledagent.com is to be the Amazon for anything tax related, so
Wow.
that everyone can have access to tax professionals and then be able to get their tax problems or issues resolved. Not a lot of people know about the enrolled agent license like they do know the CPA license, but there's so much. I tell you, Terrain, there are a lot of people who are getting into trouble with the IRS or having their tax return being audited because whoever prepared their tax return, you know, had a lot of crazy, a lot of mess on the tax return. Trying to find professionals who can help them out, and enrolled agents are, people who can be very, very helpful to them. So we created this platform to be able to give access to those people. And you can go on the platform and just search for enrolled agent by zip code. So just put your zip code, and all the enrolled agents within your zip code is gonna, populate. Then you can call any of them and reach out to them for any tax help. Interesting fun fact about the enrolled agent is that the enrolled agent license is older than the CPA license.
Wow. That is a fun fact. And it's one of those things that I tell people a lot of times, like when people reach out to me and they're like, because I am a CPA, they're like, oh, I need help with my tax return. It's like, well, let me be very clear. I don't focus on tax. Like, yes, I'm a CPA. I understand it more than the average person. But when you really need tax support, you want to, get someone who really knows that. And that's one of those things that I see a lot of times with people are like, oh, I go down, this person prepares my taxes. And, I wonder, I'm like, okay, all right, what makes you feel like that person really understands to be able to properly prepare your taxes? Because, yeah,
Right.
I've seen some people get audited and things come up because I'm like, yeah, you want to make sure you're working with someone who really does understand taxes and understands your situation.
Exactly. Exactly. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, before we go, one question I like to ask every guest that comes on, I mean, when you think about, your journey and you think about your experience, in supporting companies from a tax perspective, as well as being an educator in accounting and finance, what's two pieces of advice that you would share with other business owners?
Well, thank you for that question. I mean, for the most part, I want to tell them to just it's tough doing business. I mean, if you start a small business and you're trying to scale, and you just have to be ready for it. There's statistics out there that more than 50% of small businesses fails within the first 3 to 5 years. So it's really scary when you hear that. And with that said, it's possible. It is possible. So just when you, for me, just set out your mind that whatever comes, you're going to, keep pushing. Never give up too easily. There's so much opportunities out there. Reach out to people for help. And if there are things that you probably need help with, there's a ton of resources, especially with this current day and age where, I mean, the world is a global village, right? So you can reach out to people across the globe for help, and you should be able to do well. And then also just live a life that is worth, live a life where such that when people hear your story, uh, it's worth reading. It's what is worth it. Just don't settle for anything that is ordinary. Just do as much as you can to maximize the potentials that you have, because as far as I'm concerned, the ultimate measure of a man it's not where he sits in his time of comfort, right? On time of convenience, but where he stands in his time of adversity, challenges, and controversies. So, I mean, that's a quote by Martin Luther King Jr. But I wanted to throw it in there because it's very important to be to be resilient in anything that we do.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, Kenneth, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's definitely been a pleasure having you as a guest on, and all great, great wishes to you and the continued success and all the things that you're doing.
Thank you so much, Darren. It's a pleasure, and you're doing amazing work in this platform. I really, really wish you the very best too.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Finance and Accounting Show. If you like what you heard, don't be selfish. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and then share this with a friend, because you know a business owner that could definitely use this insight. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, share it with a friend, and turn on the notification bell so you get all the updates when we release a new episode.